use headphones for best experience. Thanks for your fantastic support. Hi, welcome to another video. But first, I'd like to show you that you can find a lot of my content on audio streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music and other platforms. So, if you want to listen audio only, just type in ASMRctica, ASMR, and you will find a lot of content here, a lot of albums. And today I would like to write in one of the oldest writing systems that ever existed. It's a cuneiform. So then I needed some clay and a tool. It's not this one. I have actually done some tools here. I haven't tried all these yet. I have tried this one now. I have tried this one and I liked it, and I have got used to it, so I think I will start with this one. I just carved or cut these with a knife, these bamboo sticks. I also tried this one actually. It's just a bamboo stick that is cut in half like this, split I mean. It was also quite nice. It was very different from using this one, but I will start with this one. This looks like a nice tablet to start to write, I think. So first I was thinking about writing something in Akkadian, for example, or Sumerian, the two oldest languages that used this writing system. I think the Sumerians actually invented this writing system about the same time as The Egyptian hieroglyphs were invented also around maybe 3500 BCE or something like that. But then I found another writing system called the Ugaritic alphabet. And it was so interesting, so I started to study that alphabet. It looks a bit like the Akkadian and Sumerian Cuneiform, but it's not related. The shapes are not related at all. It's just the technique, how to write, that is related. So the thing with this writing system is that it's an abjad, just like Phoenician alphabet, for example. So it's related to the Latin alphabet with A, B, C, D, E. So it's like the origin of our Latin alphabet, ancestor of that one. And it's the oldest ancestor, I think, the oldest version of it. So let's start with the first letter in the Ugaritic alphabet. Oh, sorry, I will zoom in also. Actually, I want to start all over now, because I will start here at the top of this circle. So we don't know what names these letters had, but I will call them the names that I've learned from related languages, from not these old, but from the first millennium BCE probably. Languages like Arabic and Hebrew. So, because Ugaritic was also a Semitic language, Ugarit is located in today's northern Syria, by the coast, so it's very close to today's Lebanon. It has Lebanon to the south and today's Turkey to the north. So it was very strategic. It was really in the very center during this time, late Bronze Age, when this language and writing system was used, around 1300 BCE or something like that, maybe between 1400 and 1100 BCE. So of course it was inspired. They had a lot of contact, trade, etc., with all the empires and kingdoms around the Mediterranean and Mesopotamia. So I will call them Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Chet, Dalet. And you can compare it with A, B, C, not really anything in the Latin alphabet, and D. Or actually A, B, G, and D. Zain, Het, Tet, Yod. So you can compare these to Latin E, V, nothing special. H, or maybe I will just stop to this comparing this with the modern Latin, because it has happened so much since then. Maybe it's easier to compare it with the Greek alphabet actually. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, D gamma, ancient letter from Greek alphabet that's not in the alphabet anymore. Epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota. And Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Chet, Dalet, He, Waw, Zain, Chet, Zain, Het, Tet, Yod, Kap, Shin, Lamed, Mem, Dalet, Yod, Dalet, Nun. Kap, Shin, Lamed, Mem, Dalet, Nun. And in the Greek alphabet, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon to gamma, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, nothing, lambda, mi, nothing, ni. So M, N, L, M, N, or K, L, M, N is from this row. E, F, G, H, I is from this row. A, B, C, T is from this row. And here is, let's see, if this was Kap, Shin, Lamed, Mem, Dalet, Nun, then this is Za, Samek, Hai, sad, kop. So za, sad, hein, pi, sad, kop. Quite challenging row to pronounce for me. In the Greek alphabet, let's start here. Kappa, lambda, mi, ni, xi, omicron, p. And the ancient letter san could be placed here from the ancient Greek alphabet, not used anymore. And the ancient Greek kopa could be placed here. So it's the place for the Latin after M, N, O, P, and Q. And this row is, if we start from za, sat, hein, pi, sad, kof, resh, thin, rein, taf. So Rho, sigma, taf in Greek. Kappa, no, kappa, lambda, mi, ni, xi, omicron, pi, Rho, sigma, taf. Yeah, that's the order in Greek. And in Latin it would be Q, let's say Q, R, S, T. Then there are three more. Three more letters, and actually it doesn't bother me that they couldn't fit into this tablet, because it's kind of a nice way to end with T, actually. I will show you later why. Because the Ugaritic people, they added three more signs for their language. These are exclusive for their language, Ugaritic. these are actually not just, don't represent just one sound. It's like they're coming from a syllabary, so it's two sounds, one consonant and one vowel. They represent each. Because, like I said, this was in the very beginning of creating alphabets as we know alphabets today, and the oldest alphabets were abjads, all of them. They didn't include any vowels. The Greeks created the first alphabet, true alphabet, that included vowels as well, signs for vowels, because they got the 22-letter alphabet from the Phoenicians, or they were inspired by it. So they used it for their language, but they didn't need all those 22 consonants, so then they could replace some of them with vowels instead. That's why we have A, E, I, O on these places in the alphabet today. Originally they represented Semitic consonants, like in Ugaritic language, for example. The glottal stop, and the H sound, he. This one, and the pharyngeal fricative, no, the pharyngeal, yeah, I think it's called the pharyngeal fricative, hein, that became O, yeah, and this glottal fricative became E. By the way, in Latin and many languages, English and many languages using this alphabet today, we have H, but the Greeks didn't have it. At least some versions of the language didn't have the H, so they created the letter E from the H consonant. This became A, this became E, this became O, the Ein became O, and yeah, the J became E, and this is still like a mix of vowel and consonant. The J sound, it's like a semi-vowel, but it could be counted as a consonant, and in these old Semitic abjads it represented a consonant, J. But what the Ugarites invented was these three extra letters, and this is a syllabary for E sound. So it's Aleph, and E. Aleph, the consonant, the glottal stop, and followed by E sound. And this is the glottal stop followed by U sound. And the original Aleph became representing Aleph and A sound. So this was actually the place and time when they first created an A, like a, not vowel directly, but they put an A sound to this Aleph, Aleph consonant sound. So A, and U. And I'm not an expert on pronouncing this because it just don't feel natural to me to produce glottal stops in Swedish language, but I know in English, for example, it's quite common when you say certain words like wa-a, if you have a strong accent, like wa-a. And also a good example, if when you say uh-oh, then you produce a glottal stop. So ha, is this one, and I, and U. And then the third letter is a type of sibilant, an S sound, and it's not clear which one it represents. It could be a sound that had been lost from the original Ugaritic language, but they needed it for loan words, imported words, when they had to express something in a foreign language. Or it could be a syllable as well, since these two extra letters are syllables. So then it could be like su. It has been suggested that it would represent su. And now I will write the alphabet again, but I think I need some new clay. So this alphabet, the Ugaritic alphabet, was the first discovery of, or like the discovery of the oldest presented alphabet in this order that later became the Phoenician order, because Phoenicia was just south of Ugarit kingdom in today's Lebanon. So they must have had very much contact with the Phoenicians. So the Phoenicians took this alphabet and this order and created the other type of letters that were not written like this in clay with the stylus. So it wasn't cuneiform, it was linear lines. And the Phoenician alphabet became the Greek alphabet, or the Greek alphabet developed from the Phoenician alphabet, and the Latin from the Greek, or the Etruscan from the Greek, and the Latin from the Etruscan. So the order is from here. And now I will write it in another order, because the super interesting thing with this language is that it was written, or with this alphabet, is that it was written in two different orders. It had been found in the Abkhata order, which I just showed you. But it has also been found in another order that I will call the Halahama order. So these letters are, if I try to pronounce them in the Semitic language, a mix of maybe ancient Hebrew, Arabic. I don't know exactly where I got these sounds from. I just read them somewhere and picked it up. Then it's he, la, he, lamet, het, mem, qaf, waw, shin, resh. He, lamet, het, mem, qaf, waw, shin, resh. And it would represent the Greek letters E, L, or E, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, lambda. No, I think it's too complicated for me to try to find the Greek versions of these when it's in this order. So some kind of H, but also E, L, some kind of H, the H, the pharyngeal H, pharyngeal fricative, the M, the Q, the W, the sheen, that is the palatal fricative, I think. Sh. That isn't represented by a sound in the Latin alphabet. And R. R. So here is tau, sat, cap, nun, het, and bet. Tau, sat, cap, nun, het, bet. This is the T that became the T in the Latin alphabet. S is one of the sibilants. It's very unclear which one became the Latin S or the Greek sigma. It's so complicated, so I will just call it an S sound. K, the K, the N, the het, that is the uvular or velar fricative. So it's a bit different from het, which were this one. This is more produced in the throat, and this is more in uvula. So het and het. And B, yeah, that's B. zo, gimel, dod. No, sorry. Zo, gimel, dalet, hain. P, halef, hain. Zo, gimel, dalet, hain. This one became O in Greek and also in Latin. So this represents, or I will derive from this one P, A, O, Z, G, D, and nothing special because it's just that pharyngeal sound that doesn't have a letter in Greek or Latin. What did I say about this one? I forgot to mention this one, didn't I? It's za. Maybe I read it wrong. Maybe I read it like P and hein, because this is P, this is hein, and this is a letter. It looks like P and hein together, but it's za. It represents the how should I call it? Emphatic, voiced. Yeah, so emphatic means that when at least when I now try to pronounce it, I do it like it's pronounced in Arabic. Then it's pharyngalized. So you say a letter, but also use your throat, constrict your throat, your pharynx when you're producing it, so it becomes like a thicker sound or like more heavy sound. So zo is like a emphatic version of, okay, what is it? Like of d or something. D or the zo. I think you can call it, yeah, the voiced interdental fricative. The one you use when you say this and the there and that, the th or dh, it's quite often spelled. That sound I haven't showed you yet. I think it will be later in this sequence, but it has a pharyngeal version or an emphatic version that is z. Something like that. So that's this sound. P, Aleph, Hein, Za, Gimel, Dalet, Hein. Now let's continue with this row. And now I actually have room for the 3 extra letters here. So this is the emphatic T, t, ta, and this is Z, and this is dalet. I forgot actually, I didn't write the complete yod here. Okay, after Chain, it's a Chet, Zain, Dalet, Yod, Thin, Thin, Sod. Chet is the emphatic T. So again, we're saying T, but you're doing a pharyngalization with your throat, at least when you produce the sound in modern Arabic. T, t. And Z is the, like the English Z. And that it's D, but it's often spelled with D with a dash underneath. But it's actually the one I talked about before, just a couple of minutes ago. It's the interdental fricative, the, and the voiced version. That Yod, that's I or J or Y. And here's thin, or than, or I don't know exactly what to call it. It's lost since very long in the alphabet, so we don't know the exact name for it, but maybe it was thin, because it looks like it has been replaced in many cases by shin. And this was the interdental fricative again, but this is the unvoiced version. So th, that you also have in a lot of English words, but not so, maybe not so many as in the voiced version, but like th, but the unvoiced version. And the last one here on this row is sod. It's the emphatic version of S. So you say S, but you also do a pharyngalization with your throat. Constrict your throat. So S become S, something like that. Sod. And that's the last one in this sequence of 27 letters. And then there are 3 more letters, making it a 30 sign alphabet, 30 letter alphabet. So it's again the syllable for glottal stop and E, so E, and glottal stop and U, so U, and another S sound that is quite unclear which one it would represent. And it's fantastic that this alphabet has been found in 2 different sequences, because then you can compare the sequences and you can see which letter is which actually, and you can follow them and try to put the puzzle together and see what happened to the sounds, what happened to the letters, to the characters, to the shapes during history, from this very early point in history, at late Bronze Age when this one was used. And then in the Iron Age, when the Phoenician borrowed the alphabet and started to travel a lot in the Mediterranean and had a lot of contact with Europe, Southern Europe, and Northern Africa, and so the Greeks picked up the Phoenician alphabet and modified it, and the Etruscans picked up the Greek, because the Greeks also traveled a lot in the Mediterranean, had contact with Etruscans in today's Italy, and when the Rome became a very powerful state and empire in this region, they had developed their own alphabet borrowed from Etruscans and Greeks, I guess. So if this was used in like 1300s BC, after 1,000 years it had developed into the Latin alphabet. The thing that happened, why this type of alphabet, the Ugaritic and the Ugaritic language and the writing system, why it disappeared, was that it was part of the late Bronze Age collapse, when it happened a lot in this region, around the Mediterranean and in the Levant and in Mesopotamia, Middle East, and Northern Africa. So it's not clear what happened, but it was the end of the Bronze Age, and a lot of empires and kingdoms just disappeared, and their language and culture and everything, and other cultures and kingdoms became much smaller and less powerful for several hundreds of years. And there are a lot of theories what happened, if it was climate change or if it was other things that happened. Sea peoples have been mentioned a lot, some mysterious sea people that came. But this led to like big empires and kingdoms like Egypt and Hittites, and in Mesopotamia, I think it was what was it? At least it was an empire which spoke the Akkadian language. Maybe the early Assyrian, Old Assyrian, or Middle Assyrian Empire. All those got smaller or disappeared. The Hittites' kingdom kind of disappeared mysteriously, and the New Egypt kingdom and the Middle Assyrian kingdom, they got smaller. So then this made it possible for the Phoenicians to have more influence in this region and also in other regions when they traveled along the Mediterranean, because of overpopulation, I think, in their region, by the Mediterranean coast. So many of them started to be immigrants into Northern Africa, and they brought their alphabet with them. But what had happened before was that when the Phoenicians borrowed the alphabet, they took this sequence that started with maybe they were not just inspired by the Ugaritic. I could say it was inspired by something that was before the Ugaritic. The Ugaritic and Phoenicians were probably inspired by the same Proto-Semitic writing system, or proto-alphabet, you could say. But this is the first evidence we have of an alphabet inspired by this Proto-Semitic alphabet and language, or at least alphabet. But the thing with Phoenician language was that they didn't have so many consonants as the Ugaritic language. So they didn't need the signs for example, the fourth sign, chet, they didn't need it. So they just dropped it. So from 27, these are the 27 first of the Ugaritic alphabet, they just kept 22. Let's see if I will read them now and then tell you which one was lost. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Chet, one lost. chet, chet, yod, kap, shin, second one lost, lamet, mem, dalet, mem, dalet, dalet was the third one lost, nun, za, the fourth one lost, sat, hain, pe, sad, qaf, resh, thin. No, thin was kept in this place actually, but rein was the fifth one that was completely lost. Rein and tau was kept. Now I will just read the ones that were kept. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Wow, Zain, Chet, Chet, Yod, Kap, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Sat, Hain, Pe, Sod, Chof, Resh, Thin, Taf. And in Greek, ancient Greek, these 22 became the first 22 letters in the Old Greek alphabet. Not the modern Greek. You can't compare it exactly with the modern Greek. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, the gamma. Zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mi, ni, xi, omicron, pi, san and kappa, rho, sigma, taf. And this sequence, the ha, la, ha, ma sequence, ha, la, ha, ma, is also kept in some languages, because when this alphabet traveled to the south, it inspired the South Arabian writing systems that are not so common as the North Semitic writing systems, or North Semitic order. There is also a South Semitic order that was used in South Arabian for South Arabian languages in the South Arabian script. And it's not completely lost, because in Ethiopia they still have this order in the Ge'ez language writing system, which is a liturgical, what do you say? Yeah, it's used mostly in religious context, this language. But also I think the order is maybe used in some modern languages. But anyway, at least in Ge'ez, and it's still a language that is used today. Also start with Halaham. It's one of the South Semitic languages, branches of this. And there were a lot of variants on the Arabian Peninsula, a lot of writing systems, also ancient North Arabian writing systems, and ancient South Arabian writing systems on the Arabian Peninsula, and then the South languages and versions travel also to the Horn of Africa, where you can find it in Ethiopia, Eritrea today. And the South Arabian versions of language and script, they kept all the 29 actually, they have 29 consonants, so even 2 more than the Ugaritic that has 27 in this historical sequence, if you don't count the last 3 that was invented by the Ugaritics themselves. So they have 29, and I have made a video about South Arabian script also, if you want to check it. It's very interesting because the 2 extra consonants in the South Arabian alphabet are not placed at the end, so probably they were not like put there by any South Arabian language, but actually maybe they were there from the very, very beginning in some kind of Proto-Semitic alphabet. There were maybe 29 symbols. And the Ugaritic, the first evidence we have of it, only kept 27 of these. And then the Phoenicians kept only 22, and so on. And from the Phoenicians we have a lot of alphabet. Also, like Hebrew alphabet, they actually descend from the Phoenician. So that's why that sequence with 22 has had so much influence on modern alphabets today, that derives from these Semitic old alphabets. So if I would read this and try to read it and thinking about the South Arabian alphabet, I will see what was the difference. He, lamed, het, mem, qaf, waw, shin, resh. Here the order differs a bit because the South Arabian had bet now, directly after resh. So bet, tau, sat, kap, nun, het. And then they had a letter called samek, maybe, or related to modern Hebrew letter samek, maybe samek. P, alef, ein, dod, gimel, dalet, chain. So here they had dod, another letter that was dropped. This is where it starts to get a bit complicated, because this letter is not dod. It doesn't represent the same letter as the South Arabian script dod, even though maybe the South Arabian letter dod wasn't pronounced exactly dod, but it's probably related to the modern Arabic letter dod, an emphatic D. But here the Ugaritics placed zo instead. And it's because of this sequence that we know that it is zo and not a do. Because here it's put here, this sign is put here. So this one is actually dod instead of zo in the South Arabian script. I'll see if I can make it any clearer. I will continue and see what happens. And this one is tet, zain, dalet, yod, thou, or thin, sod. Yeah, and here actually the South Arabian had the zo sign. And actually it was put in the very end of the alphabet, so maybe it was added actually by some South Arabian language. It's not easy to tell now after all this time what actually happened, because this sound in Ugaritic represents zo, the same sound as this one that was lost and dropped. So something happened here, and also the Samic. But there's one theory that because two clearly, or probably two signs were lost from the alphabet, if you assume that there were 29 original characters for consonant. And actually there have been evidence about how many phonemes the Proto-Semitic language would have. That is 29 actually, if you compare to all the languages that derived from it. So it should be 29 distinct phonemes. And there are 29 characters in the South Arabian, ancient South Arabian scripts. So probably two sounds were lost in the Ugaritic, because in the north, around today's Lebanon, Syria, Turkey, a lot of languages there was like a trend that a lot of sounds were lost. That didn't really happen in the south. And one of the first sounds that got lost from a Proto-Semitic language were the lateral fricatives, lateral alveolar fricatives, like and there could have been probably a voiceless version and an emphatic voiceless version. So and these sounds can still be found in several languages, but it's quite rare. But for example, in Welsh and Icelandic, they have it. And an emphatic version could be when you do pharyngalization of it. I don't know exactly how I could produce that sound. It's not even proof that it was a pharyngalization. It could also have been like a fricatives that you put a T before it. On all these emphatic sounds, there's a lot of theories that they could have been affricates. But yeah, this is very complicated to read about, very interesting, but I'm always so confused when I try to follow what happened to the signs, what happened to the sounds in different languages. When they stopped using certain sounds, then one character started to represent two sounds, and then in the next language that borrowed the alphabet, then more sounds were fused together and more symbols, and so it's very difficult, and it's almost always with the 9 sibilants. I think you can call them sibilants, all of them. The interdentals, th and the, voiced and unvoiced, th, the, and then the alveolars, s and z, voiced and unvoiced, and the laterals, and emphatic version, and also emphatic version of s, s, and then the palatal fricative, sh. Yeah, so, and also emphatic versions of them. I think there should be 9. Let's see if I can come up with which one it was. So th, and the pharyngeal version, th, and pharyngeal version, z, s, z, and sh. Yeah, those 9. Intermingle a lot, and they are dropped from alphabets. And they come back as borrowed, put in at the end, etc., etc. So it's not easy to follow, but it's very interesting to read. But after a while, I get a bit crazy about reading about those things because you can't ask anyone who actually lived by then and what happened. But there was actually one more, and this is also so interesting, that there was one more version of the Ugaritic alphabet, and that was the short alphabet, where there were actually only 21 signs, so it was reduced even by the Ugaritics. Let's write it here. And it was written actually from right to left, like most Semitic languages. And this is quite unique for Semitic languages, that it was written from left to right. And when it was written from right to left, all the characters were flipped, and if you use a stylus and do cuneiform like this, then it's quite difficult to draw it in the other way, like if you're right-handed like me. So I think I have to draw them upside down. At least the horizontal ones. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Wow, Zain, Het, or Het, Chet. Yod. I need to make more room here. Actually, I've never tried to draw this, to write this, and it looks a bit clumsy, I think, when I have to do it from right to left. I should give it another try, I think. So this is the short alphabet in Ugaritic. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Waw, Zain, Het, Chet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samek, Hain, Pe, Qaf, Resh, Shin, Taf. It's 21, and you can compare it with Phoenician and also Greek, ancient Greek. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, digamma, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mi, ni, xi, omicron, pi, kappa, rho, sigma, tau. So in Phoenician alphabet they had this 21 plus also Samic somewhere. It's been lost here. Should be Alphabet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Wow, Zain, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun. Samic, Ein, P. Okay, yeah, here it should be some S sound, so this is a place for Samic. But Sod seems to be lost here. It's in the Phoenician alphabet, actually, and it was just before Q, so it was sun in the ancient old version of Greek alphabet also, but it was actually not included here. But it's kind of an origin of these simplified or reduced alphabets that later became very popular. So maybe the Ugarites used this alphabet for writing foreign language, for writing in Phoenician, for example, their neighbors in the south, since it also was written from right to left, like most Semitic languages by this time. But writing Ugaritic alphabet is much easier from left to right, I think, if you're right-handed, at least, because it makes it very difficult for me to write it in this way. So thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Sleep well, take care, and see you soon.